back for episode 2 of Brit and Jacob Go to the Movies. I got a drink this time, so my mouth doesn't dry out while we're talking. Because that happened last time. Let me tell you, that was not fun. This week, we are not talking about a film as deep and metaphorical as The Green Knight. We're actually talking about a superhero movie. But nonetheless, is a really good movie. Shang Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. I'm Britton. And
I'm Jacob.
How's it going, Jacob?
Not too bad. I just finished eating dinner. Pretty good. Haven't eaten anything all day, but I've been waiting for this.
Oh, you haven't eaten anything all day?
What?
You haven't eaten anything today?
No.
Wow, that's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
There are some days I'll just won't eat anything until it's dinner time. I don't know. I'm just weird like that.
Fair enough. So Shang-Chi. Jacob, might need to pull this up because my computer is screen recording.
Alright.
But Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a movie. An MCU movie. Now, I should note here that me and Jacob are both big MCU fans.
Oh, yes.
And, we enjoy the MCU. I like taking my dad and I to go see these movies. But yeah, I think the MCU is an achievement, despite what some directors, including some that I respect, have said. I think they are wrong about what they've said about these movies. I genuinely think that the MCU is an achievement in cinema.
Indeed.
Not just because they're silly superhero movies and people punch each other and there's big robots. I mean, that's awesome too. But also because I don't believe, except for the Universal monster movies, maybe, that Shang-Chi, or not Shang-Chi, the MCU has existed and has been as successful as it's been. I mean,
it's crazy.
A lot of people might even say, oh man, MCU, they don't take any risks. Man, the whole MCU was a risk, okay? They started out a movie starring a C-list character, aka Iron Man. And then look at him now. Look how popular the MCU is. I mean, and Shang-Chi is another fine installment to this legacy, but we'll get into that in a minute. Jacob, do you know who directed this movie? I know his name's Destin something, but I can't look it up at the moment.
I think it's Daniel Cretton. I know what it is. Hold on real quick. Here we are. Destin Daniel Cretton.
Say who stars in the movie. I know we didn't say that last time we kind of rattled it off, but yeah, just say who starred in the movie. Do you want to say who starred in the movie? I mean Awkwafina, obviously, but I can't remember the other people's names.
Simu Liu, who plays Shang Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Leung, who plays the father and the villain in the movie. Of course, Awkwafina. Shang-Chi's sister, I can't pronounce her name. And Ben Kingsley, who is returning as the Mandarin, and who is from Iron Man 3, which was considered to be the worst twist ever in the MCU.
Yeah, we'll get to that once we get talking about this movie. But out of all the great MCU movies that have come out, The Avengers, The Winter Soldier, Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Endgame, Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy, and the second one as well. You'd think, man, gosh, how can they keep our interest? And Marvel decided, we're going to play the dice again. We're going to make a movie about this really obscure martial arts character that was really popular in the 70s when Kung Fu took hold. And we'll see what happens. In typical MCU style. And let me tell you, I think they succeeded. Once again.
Absolutely.
The gamble paid off once again. Because this is probably the best MCU movie since the Black Panther movie. And Thor Ragnarok. And Guardians 2. 2017 was a really good year for MCU movies. It's a good year for movies in general. But, Shang Chi. Phenomenal movie, I gotta say. Like, this film surprised me. What about you, Jacob?
Oh, yeah. Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is my favorite solo Marvel film since Black Panther. It has exceeded my expectations. It is everything that I've wanted a Marvel movie to be like, because when it comes to the MCU, you kind of know what they are at this point. It has sort of built its own formula. And the last one, Black Widow, I initially really liked, but after more viewings, I just found it disappointing and just like blah. But Shang-Chi, oh my god, this movie was fucking awesome. From the action to the story to the characters, it's crowd-pleasing. And what's even more crowd-pleasing is that for this film to have its first Asian lead, it represented Asian culture excellently, in my opinion.
Oh yes, most definitely. I am a comic book fan. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know every little thing about comics, but I do have a healthy knowledge of them. I don't know that much about Shang-Chi. I just knew he was kind of this obscure character, and basically his superpower is martial arts. Like, he's one of the greatest fighters in the Marvel Universe in general. Like, Captain America and Daredevil probably outdo him, but, wait, hold on. No. But, Captain America and Daredevil probably, outdo him in terms of the fighting, but this guy's one of the best.
Absolutely.
Apparently. In the comics, that is. In the movies, well, I don't know how they've ranked fighters yet, but we'll get to the action in a second. But this movie, yeah, I'd agree with you. One of the best MCU movies I've seen in a long-ass time. And, we've been spoiled with a lot of great MCU movies, and after a while you're like, gosh, they can't... How much longer can we keep going with this? And, I'm not saying that the MCU formula is bad. They rarely a bad movie from the MCU, and except for Thor: The Dark World. That movie sucked. But
oh, Jesus.
But aside from that, we rarely get a bad film from here. But it's also like they're usually not exceptional either. Like there's the good ones, and then there's the really just exceptionally excellent movies. And I think Shang-Chi is one of them.
Absolutely. It's up there with Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thor Ragnarok, in my opinion.
Oh, most definitely. This film, I'm not even going to lie. When I saw the trailers for this movie, I was kind of like, kind of looks like your cliche Marvel stuff. And, I've never really been all that interested in Shang-Chi, so that kind of gives me lesser reason to watch it. So I thought... It
looked very generic.
Yeah, it looked kind of generic. They cracked a couple of jokes in there, and, you're like, yeah, standard MCU fare.
Mm-hmm.
But the action, though, looked amazing. And I'm like, you know what? You know what? These trailers, they aren't really selling me, but the action looks promising. So if it at least gives me, great action, I think this will be worth my time. This will at least be, a 3.5 movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then I went to go see the movie. I took my dad. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give this movie a shot. I don't know what this movie's going to entail. I don't know too much about it. I saw some trailers, yada yada. I gave him the whole shtick. This film blew me away. Just from the first moment it came on, you're just like, wow. This is something else. To quote Bully Maguire himself, our Lord and Savior. What did you think? What did you think, Jacob? Was it something else?
I watched Chris Stuckin's review on the movie, and when he said that it was his favorite solo Marvel film since Thor Ragnarok, I was actually really excited to see it. And then I read the reviews saying like it's unlike any other Marvel film, like it didn't follow the typical MCU formula. Nothing bad about the MCU formula, but some of the best MCU movies are the ones that don't follow the typical MCU formula. Winter Soldier is a prime example. But I went to this film very excited to see it, and after I left, I couldn't stop geeking out about it in my car. I was driving home, and I was like, that movie was so fucking awesome. It's might be in my top 5 of best MCU movies. Like I said, like the action, the story, the characters, all excellent.
Oh yeah, like it exceeded what I thought this movie. Like I thought this movie was just going to be like a standard kind of action flick, which wouldn't have been bad. Like they had every reason to just kind of phone this one in, but they really went the extra mile with this, and I am so glad they did because I loved it. My dad loved it when we went to go see it. He's like, dude, that was a great story. That's what he says when he usually really likes a movie we go see. He's like, that had a great story, is what he likes to say. Yeah. And it does, and we'll get into that. But, oh my god, like, what can I gush about in this movie? I mean, the storytelling, the action in this is just...
Oh, boy.
Oh my god. I mean, I thought the Winter Soldier had orgasmic, action sequences. But I gotta say, this movie rivals the Winter Soldier. And I'm just,
Absolutely. In regards to action sequences, I think it's the best in the MCU.
Oh my lord. It's up there, man. It's like, after Black Widow, I saw Black Widow, and the MCU TV shows, which, have you seen those, Jacob? Or I think we talked about them a little, but have you seen all of them?
Yes. WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Loki. Loki is by far my favorite out of the shows. Falcon and Winter Soldier I also thought was really good. Surprisingly mature MCU series. WandaVision I enjoyed, but I was disappointed. I didn't feel like it executed its concept excellently, which I wanted it. But yeah.
I've seen all of them. Liked all of them. I also share your opinion. Loki, I think, was my favorite. And maybe we'll do, like, a Marvel TV show. Like, we'll make an exception, because we usually talk about movies on here. But, those have been good. And those have really kept my interest in the MCU. Like, oh boy, like, what are they going to do next? And, Shang Chi is just kind of this little weird one-off. Like, this is another just Marvel coming out there and just going, like, alright, we're going to make this damn movie. And if you don't like it, fuck you. If you do, great. And, let me tell you, also, I saw Chris Stuckman's Shang-Chi video, and that also encouraged me to go see it. Because, I'm like, Chris Stuckman, we both love Chris Stuckman here.
Oh, yeah. Huge Chris Stuckman fan over here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if Chris Stuckman ever, like, by some random chance watches this, shout out to you, because we love your channel. But, also, good luck with your movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, can't wait to see. I hope that comes out in the theaters, because I'm gonna go see that shit.
Yeah, our boy is directing a movie, finally.
Oh yeah, but, anyway, so I saw his Shang-Chi review, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take Chris's word for it. I'm gonna see how this is. Oh, man. Like, this, like, when I first hold on. My dog was in here. Sorry about that. But I've lost my train of thought now. Oh yes, when I first, like, from the first moment this movie comes on, I was reminded very positively of Black Panther in the sense that it fully embraces the cultural roots that it comes from. Which, there's a lot of people out there. There's some, I would say they are idiotic people. But there are people out there who get all finicky over that and like, diversity, rah. But I think this movie did it well. And, I really like how it intertwines Chinese culture in this movie. It really makes it feel, it makes it feel authentic,
Yes, it doesn't, like, shove it down your throat like, oh, we're representing Asian culture. And they're like, no, we're going to make a fucking good movie that represents Asian culture.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, we have a movie, we have Asians in it, and we're just going to show what Asian families are like. And,
exactly.
There may not be a warlord who trained his children to be killing machines, but aside from that, I mean, I don't know a lot of Asian people, but if I were an Asian person, I would definitely be pleased with this film. Because I think it deals with the Asian cultural aspects in a very tasteful manner.
It does. Just like how Black Panther did with the African Americans.
Oh, yeah. Legit, it's like Asian Black Panther. It
really is.
With, even with better action. I mean, I love Black Panther, but there were some action bits in there that looked a little weird, but we'll get to that when we talk about Black Panther. But Shang Chi, alright, I'm gonna get off the gushing, and we'll just get into the meat of this movie. So, we call it either Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi. I'm just gonna call them both, because I'm sure it's like a potato thing. But, this movie was great. There's not much else to say in the getting over our general thoughts. We both loved this. We thought, damn, this surprised the hell out of me, my man. And it shows you the MCU, when you think they've outdone themselves, they still have a couple of surprises under their sleeves. And
they really do.
It's films like this why I like the MCU. I know that's some really high praise, but I think this film deserves it, because this film is just remarkable.
It really is. I think, for years to come, it will come down as one of the best comic book movies ever made.
Oh, yeah, it should. It definitely should. Because this film has everything that makes a good superhero movie. Characters that you like. Action sequences. Over-the-top, comic booky stuff. And it also has a good, healthy blend of mythology, but we'll get into that in a second. Like I said, I've said that 4 times now. But Shang-Chi, we'll basically get into the story now, if that's fine. And we'll talk about aspects that we all really enjoy as we get in here. What do you think, Jacob?
I thought the story, it wasn't disposable or throwaway like a couple of some MCU movies are like that. They'll follow the typical formula. It's pretty entertaining with some good humor. It'll set up other movies in the future. But they really went out of the way to tell a really compelling story. And I think they executed it very well. And characters that you actually care about, and the journey that Shang-Chi goes through is extremely relatable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, we don't probably have warlords as dads, but I think the story of him coming to accept himself and growing up, I think it's a coming-of-age story, if nothing else.
It is in some way.
But again, we'll get into that. Basically, the movie is about our friend, Shang-Chi, the titular Shang-Chi. I forget if he has another name. Doesn't he have another name in the movie, Jacob?
When he moved to America, it was Sean. But
Sean.
Yes,
that's it. Yeah, he's called Sean.
Secret.
Here, hold on. Let me look some of this stuff up, because I forgot a couple of things about this. Not that I forgot the plot or anything, but there's little details I forgot.
Oh.
But basically it's about Shang-Chi, going by the name of Sean, and he lives in California. He's basically at first he kind of seems like your normal, early 20s kind of a guy. He gets into some trouble. Not too big a trouble. He doesn't blow shit up or anything, but he gets into some hijinks with his friend, who's played by Awkwafina. Which we'll get into that in a second, because there's something that they do in this movie, and I'm so glad that they did it. And I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about, but again, we'll get into it. Basically, Sean or Shang-Chi basically gets wrapped up in this thing that has to do with his father, also known as the Mandarin, which ooh boy, we'll get into that again. I've said that 10 times now. Jesus Christ. But basically, let's start out this story. So basically, we got a backstory, which is fine. And at first, when I saw the flashback scene when we get the story of the Mandarin, and the Mandarin, in the comics he's kind of he's an Iron Man villain, which is. Hold on real quick. Sorry, that was my mother. Anyway, so more distractions in this episode. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. And Jacob. Basically, okay, so we get the backstory of the Mandarin. The actual Mandarin, not Ben Kingsley, though he does show up in this movie, and again, we'll get to that. Again, take a shot every time I say that. And at first, when you see the Mandarin, you're kind of like, oh, okay, oh lord, like this movie could not Marvel villains, MCU villains. I'm not gonna lie, that is one of the weaker aspects of the MCU movies. It is usually once in a while that they get a really memorable villain, like Loki, or Thanos, or Killmonger.
Yes.
And at first, when you watch this, backstory, you think, oh, God. The Mandarin's going to be this guy who wants to take over the world, and he's probably going to use his kids to go do it, and this film, one of my favorite aspects of this film is the Mandarin, because you think, you've seen so many movies like this, you're like, I know where this is going to go, it's going to be some kid doesn't want to do what his father wants him to do, so his dad tries to kidnap him and do some bullshit to get him out. Which, okay, yeah, they kind of do that, but not in the way you expect. But once you get into this, you realize, oh, like, this is a guy. And he has issues. Like, not like he's a normal guy and he has, like, he has, like, mortgage he has to pay or anything. He's a warlord. But despite being a warlord, he does manage to be human and relatable, and that's really one of my favorite parts of this movie, because I get kind of sick of the underutilization of the villains in these movies.
Yeah,
so
like it's definitely the weaker aspect of the MCU.
Oh yeah, and so it's so nice when we get like a great villain who is understandable. Like Chris Stuckman once said, to quote our boy once again, the most compelling villains are the ones you understand. And that's definitely the case with the Mandarin. And, you feel sympathy for this guy, even though we know he is technically the bad guy, though I think you could even debate maybe he wasn't the bad guy. Or, well, he is a bad guy, but we'll get more into it. But, yeah, one of my favorite parts is that this was a guy who took over everything, and he was this powerful more, like, he could probably give Thanos a run for his money. Like, that's how powerful he was. Would you agree, Jacob?
Oh, absolutely.
And as 100%. The story goes on, we realize that he kind of... okay, I guess we'll get into that as the story, but really real quick to get my thoughts on this backstory, it kind of introduces you to the Mandarin, and immediately you realize a couple of things. One, this is not going to be your typical MCU movie. And two, the action in this is going to be amazing. Let me just gush about the action real quick. You want to gush about the action, Jacob?
Oh God, I've been waiting to get to the action.
Oh man, let's geek out about the action.
All right.
Oh
man, the action in this. Oh boy. It is, I'm just going to say, it's the best I've seen in the MCU. Like, when it's hand-to-hand combat, it's a gorgeous wide shot. And I love the fact that it's not, like, overly heavy down with, like, CGI, which most Marvel films do nowadays. But, like, you can tell that the actors who are doing the stunts are actually doing them, for the most part. There are a couple of obvious stunt doubles in this movie when people are falling off buildings, but for the most part, like hand-to-hand combat, it's beautiful.
Oh, yes. I mean, really the action in this. Basically, if I gave like a Hollywood pitch to this, it's basically if Jackie Chan and Ang Lee made a Marvel movie without being the Hulk for Ang Lee anyway. Because the action in this movie, it is not even just reminiscent of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It is literally, like, they literally crib from it, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But, they crib from it, and the action in this is just, oh my god. Just, like, the subway fight, oh my lord. Just,
oh god.
Oh man, and just the fight choreography, oh my god. It's like, call Jackie Chan. He will be, like, drooling watching this. He'll be like, how the hell did they do that? This is insane. Can't even believe this.
Yeah.
I can't even
Jackie
believe this.
Chan would be proud.
Oh, yes. Jackie Chan would be like, this is amazing. Like, I've taught them well. He, like, wipes a tear from his face. He won't be doing the, Jackie Chan meme, like, what is this? But, oh, man. Just the action in this movie is so good.
It really is.
Let's talk about why it's good. Like Jacob said, wide shots, okay? Action directors, you gotta watch this shit. Because this is how you make action films engaging. Now, don't get me wrong. You're gonna say, well, they used quick cutting in The Winter Soldier. Okay, yeah, they did. You know what? Yes, they did. But, you could at least see what they were doing, alright?
Exactly.
You could at least, see that everyone was invested in the fight and what... It's not bad choreography or anything. Yeah, the quick cutting does annoy me a little bit, but this movie just gets everything right about action filmmaking. Like, I'd even say it's Raid level, just without the violence. It just makes you go...
Oh, yeah.
It's... again, it's like if Jackie Chan did the action choreography for an MCU movie. It's phenomenal.
It really is. It didn't feel like I was watching a Marvel movie. It felt like I was watching a really good, Japanese movie of some sort. Kind of like something like The Drunken Master or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or even anime like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. I think they even make a Dragon Ball reference in this movie.
Oh, yeah, they do. That I remember.
Oh, yeah. Also, the humor in this is really good, too. But again, that's kind of a little afterthought. But yeah, the humor's good in this, too.
Mm-hmm. It's not, in your face. It's not, too much. It's, the perfect amount of humor, which Marvel does pretty well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unless you're Carlton, then humor is bad. Love you, buddy. Don't kill me. Anyways.
Well, then...
Oh, what'd you say?
Love you, Carlton.
Yeah, no, but... the action in this is phenomenal. I think, every time you're like, oh man, how are they gonna top this action scene? They just go fucking all out. I'm not even kidding. They're just, there's the subway fight, which you're just like, oh my, oh wow. This is way different from, this is just a straight up, old-fashioned kung fu movie. That was what my mental thoughts went to. This is basically a throwback to old kung fu movies, from the Bruce Lee, even Jackie Chan days. I can definitely see influence from stuff like Enter the Dragon, or as you said, The Drunken Master. It just has those wide shots. You can definitely see what everyone's doing, and you can tell everyone is really invested in this, in the action, and making it look convincing.
Absolutely, instead of just, covering it up with CGI. No, as I said before, everyone who is doing the action and doing their own fight choreography, they're really doing it. And that's most investing, that is some of the best action I've seen, when the actors are really committed on doing their shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the reason why I respect Tom Cruise still, even though I don't agree with his personal choices, and you'll definitely hear me making fun of his association with Scientology a lot on this show. But... I mean, say what you want about Tom Cruise, the guy throws himself into every project he does, and I'm sure if he's...
The dude's almost 60.
Oh, yeah, the dude's almost 60. But, I mean, he probably would watch this and just be like, respect. He'd just, pump his chest and be like, respect to these guys. They know what they're doing. Okay. Even though he probably would be like, it's not practical, but, I mean, we'll get to that again. speaking of the action, and we'll talk more about the action as the movie goes along. So basically, we're introduced to the Mandarin. He meets this woman, and that's explained more as the movie goes on. But then we cut to Shang Chi, who goes by Sean. He lives in San Francisco, and like we said, he's kind of a younger gentleman. He's kind of got a low end job. He's gets into some hijinks with his friend Katie, and they're living the good life.
Yeah, just living a decent life. He doesn't have like a huge paying job. I mean, he just parks cars, but yeah, he's just living a life. Nothing like, oh my god, I have a successful career. Just like an average life.
Yeah. See, like us, basically.
Yeah.
And Simu Liu, I think that's his name. I'm so sorry if someone ever has the chance, whoever made this movie sees this and we mispronounce your name, I am so sorry. But Simu Liu, he did a pretty great job as Shang-Chi. He captures the kind of happy-go-lucky, jokey part of himself, and he also nails the dramatic moments really well.
He does.
And also, he really dedicates himself to the action sequences. Like, I'm sure they used a stunt double from time to time, but you can definitely tell it's him doing a lot of the stunts. And it's really impressive how much he threw into this role.
Oh, yeah. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, what a superstar.
Oh.
Like, I loved him so much in this movie. He was great.
Oh, yeah, this was that this kid has a future kind of movie where you're like, damn.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also with his friend Katie. He's played by Awkwafina, the famous rapper, actress, comedian. I don't know what she exactly does. She is an actress, though. And one of my favorite parts of this movie was their friendship. I really liked how they played off of each other. They joke around with each other. They're friends. They, tell dumb stories about their lives. They feel like actual friends, and that's it feels really authentic to me. And
yeah, it's very real. And I also love the fact that, like, they don't eventually hook them up in the end. Like, most movies do that.
Oh, I was just about to bring that up. I'm so glad they didn't hook them up, because I was gonna get so mad. And they tease you.
They do.
Don't think I didn't see that movie. Don't think I'm stupid, movie. I saw you. You were cock teasing it. He's like, oh yeah, they're gonna be together, and then, thank God, they don't do it. I was like, I'm literally throwing a party.
No, like, that would have been the biggest cliche ever, because we all know that usually happens when two best friends eventually hook up in the end. It's like, it's tired. Not every best friend has to hook up in the end.
Oh my god, I'm so glad that they didn't go with that. Just, thank you. Destin, thank you, Destin Daniel Cretton, for not putting them together. I think they work better as friends, and you see that throughout the movie. They really, they operate better as friends, and
they do.
You can see that kind of sibling-like bond that they have, and it's just beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Like, there were some scenes in here that I genuinely thought was touching.
Oh yeah, a lot of touching scenes in this movie. Surprisingly, very surprisingly emotionally investing movie.
Oh yeah, and like, as you more deeply get into this movie, you get more and more invested into these characters, and
absolutely.
You just. And I love her and Shang-Chi's relationship again, because it just feels natural. It feels like two best friends who've known each other for a long-ass time, and they just they look out for each other, they love each other very much, and they, not in like a romantic way, that again doesn't go to that cliche route, thank God. Not that I'm against romance, but, I just, like Jacob said, just tired of that cliche that the best friends have to get together.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just annoying. Because, it just wouldn't feel right to me if that were the case, and I'm so glad that they didn't do that. Like, when that was like the cherry on top. Like, when this movie was over, I'm like, oh yeah, this was a great movie, but don't you... Not that if they did get together, it would have ruined the whole movie. That just kind of would have been a little damper on things. But they didn't, and I'm like, ugh! Like, I was literally, like, I didn't celebrate or anything, but I was really happy about that.
Hallelujah.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, they're both, like, Sean's the one, Shang Chi, and Shang Chi actually goes through a really compelling arc in this movie. Like I said, it's kind of a coming-of-age film. We see him go from this kind of slackery, you know, young guy into a man. If to quote Game of Thrones, he kills the boy and lets the man take place.
Yep.
Not really, though. But... not really like that. I wouldn't describe it like that, but it is kind of like that. And Shang-Chi, and again, he goes through a really touching arc in this. Like, you're like, damn, you know? Like, this, you feel for this guy, because, you know, he just wants to live a normal life. And I know we've seen this in movies before. The guy who has this secret badass past just wants to live a normal life. And, you know, ends up getting dragged back into the, you know, bullshit. But it's done in a way where you're like, damn, this is really compelling. I really like this.
As long as it's executed well, then who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll complain about cliches, but only if they're done poorly. Like, this is a movie that does cliches, but they do them pretty well.
Yes, it's all about execution.
Exactly. And, you know, so they get into some things. And like I said, they cock tease you through this movie, okay? They are like, when you guys getting together, like the parent, like they're messing with you. They're like, oh, we're gonna tease you with this, and they don't. But again, they don't do it, and it's really happy to me. But and I'm really happy about that. So they go to. So Katie is also a lot like Shang-Chi. She's kind of, I wouldn't say she's his foil because they're not unalike. They're not like polar opposites or anything, but. They both have similar, they're both in similar ways. Like, Katie is also someone who doesn't really know what to do with her life, which is sort of a thing, is sort of a motif in this film, is realizing what you want to do with your life. Mm-hmm. And Katie is another character who kind of goes through that. She doesn't really know what she wants to do. You know, her family gets onto her because, you know, she's not really doing anything with her life. You know, and apparently she's pretty smart. And, you know, she's you know, she's not like a bad person or anything. She's kind of, you know, she's just kind of a trickster.
Yeah, kind of a goofball, just living her life, having fun.
Yeah. You know, she's kind of like how she's kind of like my dad. he coasts around, has a good time. He doesn't get into hijinks like she does, but, you know, this kind of reminded me of my dad in that way. But, or, you know, like a good friend. Like, this is someone you know in real life. And I think Katie brings a lot of heart into this movie. I mean, Awkwafina, I already knew she was pretty good. I mean, I saw her in the second Jumanji reboot movie, and she was really good in that. She was funny and whatnot. But in this movie, oh man, she goes through all the... She's funny, but she also has, like, these moments of, like, heart. But she's like I said, you know, her and Liu's chemistry is remarkable in this movie. Like, they feel like friends.
Yes, their banter between each other, as you said before, it feels really authentic. It doesn't feel acted. It feels real.
Oh, yes.
And Awkwafina, like, she really did a good job here. She was funny. She wasn't annoying. She was funny in all the right ways. And Awkwafina, I've been a big fan of her ever since seeing her in The Farewell, which I would recommend. Excellent movie.
I actually haven't seen that yet. I want to, though. I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, great movie. Awkwafina is excellent in the movie, but in this movie, she's really good as well.
Oh, yes. You know, again, she really brings all the, like, really great stuff in this. And like you said, I forgot to mention that, she's not annoying. She's not like the annoying sidekick. She's a sidekick, yeah, but she's not like, she's just kind of along for the ride. And sometimes... Yeah. Like, what? Okay.
Just, like, kind of going along with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, she just kind of says shit that the audience is thinking. Like, what is this? But, you know, But then the dart has to drop. I mean, as much fun as it would have been just to see these two playing off of each other, I think that could be a sitcom, really.
It really could.
Just like a martial arts comedy where like they get into hijinks and he has to like bail her out all the time. Because I can definitely see that happening.
Shang Chi 80, the new Disney Plus series.
Yes, yeah, that'd be funny. But basically, a story's got to happen. And some guys come and decide, hey, Shang-Chi, we need you. Or Shang-Chi. I'm just going to call him Shang-Chi. I'm sorry. You can call him Shang-Chi, though, if you want. I don't really care either way. I don't know why I'm telling you that. You call him whatever you want. Don't listen to me. But, so, Sean is they kind of have moments where they have these little moments, which, again, I should also note that this movie also nails the kind of smaller human moments. Just like there's just little moments where like they have a chat or they have just like a little moment where they're getting along or talking about stuff, and it just feels real. Like I said before, it just feels real, even though there's like CG dragons and stuff. Yeah,
those are some of the best comic book movies when they have the down-to-earth human moments. It's not just about superhero stuff. I mean, we all come to superhero movies to see that, but we also want to see the human aspects of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, dude, just give me a good story, and I'm good to go. You can do whatever the hell you want as long as the story's good.
Yep, and Shang-Chi, like the human aspects in the movie, really well done.
I mean, they're not like they could easily be like throwaway scenes, and there's not really much I could say about them rather than good job, like they're really good. Like the moment where they visit Katie's family, or when they visit their old friend and her husband, boyfriend, whoever that guy was. And and they're talking about like they're just sharing stories from when they were in school together, and again, they just really nailed those little bits because I remember because me and Jacob just got out of high school recently. Not too long ago. And, we definitely understand just kind of sharing fun stories with friends. And they really nailed that part as well. Because there's also this friend that they have who they share about their little hijinks. And she's a little more... Like, she used to get in with their fun, but now she's kind of growing up and, getting on with her life. But, she enjoys having a good time with her friends. And, she also kind of gives them the speech like, yeah, maybe you guys should do something with your lives, You can't just, goof off forever. And,
Yeah.
Which, again, kind of goes into the coming-of-age aspect of this movie, where they both kind of become more mature people.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a really hilarious scene with them later, but, again, I don't want to rush it. So, basically, they end up getting cornered. Shang-Chi gets cornered by some suspicious-looking fellows. And it's a funny scene, but again, it just shows you the just awe-inspiring action sequences of this movie. Because then these guys just start going at it, and Shang-Chi just goes like, and then it's like it's in a subway like in San Francisco where the movie takes place, and this action scene's amazing. Again, just the action.
Oh,
it's just like,
No, the bus scene. Oh my god. I'm just going to say this right now. I think it's one of the best action sequences ever in a comic movie. Like, it is so exciting and so well shot, and Simu Liu really went all out in that scene. Like, holy shit. Everybody did scene. Really fucking well done.
Oh yeah. I mean, like they're throwing everything, and they're throwing stuff. They're tearing off mechanical arms because there's this guy named Razor Fist in there, and good comic booky stuff. But yeah, I think this fight scene should be up there with the Winter Soldier Cap fight in Winter Soldier, the train fight, another train fight, the train fight in Spider-Man 2, which I know this is like really high praise, but like the action scenes are just amazing.
Yeah, it's some of the best ever in a comic movie.
Oh yes, most definitely. It's just like, man, like
we can talk about the action all day, but
oh yeah,
a lot more.
But so what happens is that they end up stealing this necklace that he has because his mom, apparently, which is explained later in the movie, I might be getting a little ahead, but his mom is like this, like, you know, like moms tend to be in movies. Like, there's these really benevolent figures. And she used to guard this city called Talo. Or is it Te Lao? I don't know. But basically, it's like this mystical village, and she's like this sorcerer, martial artist, and, you know, and she ended up giving Shang-Chi and his sister, who shows up later in the movie, these little necklaces with some diamonds in it. It's like a diamond anyway. Well, one of the guys ends up ripping it off from Shang-Chi, and he gets upset about that. He's like, dang it, that was mine. My mom gave that to me. And, you know, then he's finally in that situation where Katie's like, what the hell? You never told me you were this big badass. What are you not telling me? And you know, of course, Shang-Chi explains that his dad is this warlord. As we described, he's called the Mandarin, who in the comics is a Iron Man villain. He also shows up in Iron Man 3. Well, not really him, but it was a version of him. But, yeah, Shang-Chi basically is like, look, I have some things I need to deal with. I didn't want this to happen, but you know what? Shit happens, and she's like, fuck you, I'm coming with you, we're going together. And he's like, I don't know, this is like some pretty trippy stuff. And she's like, nope, I'm coming with you, we're, you know, homies for life, which again, Katie's the bestest friend ever.
Oh yeah.
She's like, I'm coming with you, and Shang-Chi's like, fine. Basically, they fly on a plane, and Shang-Chi gives his backstory. Which is when his father met his mother, which again really starts getting... This is really where the Mandarin starts becoming interesting as a character. He met this woman because, you know, he's a conqueror. That's like his thing in the movie. He's this conqueror. And he spent his whole life... He's been around for years and years and years and years. And... he conquered everything, but we also see throughout the movie that he desired something else, and we end up realizing he desired normalcy. He just wanted a normal life with this woman, and you end up realizing. And I think also I picked up, I think he falls in love with her because she's the only one who can challenge him.
Yes.
And actually go toe to toe with him, because, you know, I think he is looked for someone who could challenge him. And this woman just does so, and he's like, alright, let's get married. Well, not really. But basically he gets into this woman, and you know how it is when guys get beaten up by girls, they instantly become attracted to them. But I think it's a sort of thing where he's attracted to the fact that she can go toe to toe with him.
Yeah.
And he realizes, you know what? There's more things than just power. And again, it kind of goes to the beautiful arc that the Mandarin goes through, but I don't really know where to talk about that. But basically, for Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi has basically had this long, hard life of pain, where his dad, you know, they were once happy, as it's explained as the movie ends up going along. And his dad, you know, they were protected, because his dad is part of the Ten Rings, which is this terrorist organization. And he also has these things called the Ten Rings, which are these mystical ring-like things that grant godlike powers. That's how he took over in the first place. And that's kind of why he's still alive. But Shang-Chi... Jacob, do you want to take over here? Now I'm starting to lose train of thought, because...
Yeah. Basically, Shang-Chi, him and Katie go to this club, and that's where we see Juan and a little cameo from Abomination.
Oh, yeah. I think you're getting ahead of yourself, though. I was talking about the backstory of Shang-Chi, like when they're on the plane.
Oh, okay. You had me confused there.
Oh, sorry, man.
No, you're good. The backstory of Shang-Chi, basically living a normal life, but the Mandarin had a little bit of a history that they didn't know about. Shang-Chi and his sister, his mom kind of knew, but yeah, and that's when Shang-Chi, when he realizes, he kind of runs off and moves to San Francisco and kind of dumps his sister, which we'll get in about soon, and they're kind of estranged in the movie.
Yeah, basically, Shang-Chi goes to this very ruthless training. Like, he ends up basically becoming a weapon, which is what he describes himself as. Like, his dad, he's like, my dad wanted to make me a weapon. And that's basically what happened. And, this is explained a little later, but, some guys called the Iron Gang, who were people who the Mandarin had pissed off in his thousands of years of, conquering and taking over things and whatnot. So his dad basically says he ends up figuring out where the Iron Gang's leaders are and tells him to kill him. This is another interesting choice the movie makes, is Shang-Chi tells her this, and then she's like, oh, did you do it? And then he just kind of plays it off like, oh, of course not. I didn't do it. I just ran off. But we do learn later he actually did do it. And, again, I really like how Simu Liu played it. Because he didn't play it like... He kind of plays it like, a young person would. Just like, oh, it's... nothing happened. It's no big deal. And you feel sorry for this kid because you realize he's been through a lot, and you realize throughout the movie he just wants to live a normal life.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he ran off to San Francisco, is to live a normal life.
And yeah, basically, and he tells her the story, and they crack a couple of jokes, and and then they end up going to find his sister. I don't know if it's explained how he knew where his sister was, but anyway, so somehow he finds his sister, who's running this fighting ring, and they also Shang-Chi is instantly recognized because I forgot to mention some guys were filming him fighting all of these guys on the train. Which, that's a really funny scene. There's this fat guy oh shit, pulls out his phone and just starts live streaming the whole thing.
Speaking of that guy, that was actually a little cameo in Spider-Man Homecoming. Remember that scene in Homecoming where he's on top of a building? And there's this guy, he's yelling yeah, that Spider guy on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I remember. He's like, Spider-Man, do a flip! And then Spider-Man's like, oh, okay. Flips. He's like, yeah! Yeah, I didn't notice that at first, actually.
No, I just want to point that out. Just a little Homecoming cameo.
No, that was funny. That was funny. I didn't even notice that at first until I saw, a new Rockstars video later, which talked about the movie. Basically... Damn it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, Fight Club. So basically, this is like a fight club for, people and things, and there are a couple of Easter eggs if you're an MCU nerd, like me and Jacob are. There is a person with extremists in one scene. There are some other people I didn't quite recognize. I recognized the extremist. Did you see anything, Jacob?
Yeah, the extremist I did see, and of course, as I said before, when I kind of got ahead of myself, Juan and Abomination fighting.
Oh yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Which is obviously the biggest cameo in the movie, but yeah, agree with you. Great scene, great little cameo.
Oh yeah, it's funny too because it's let me just say right now, like I said, never really a bad movie in the MCU, but there are a good couple of meh films out there. The Incredible Hulk is one of the mehest films out there.
Yeah, it's just mediocre.
Yeah, and I'm glad they brought back the Abomination in this way, because it kind of just fits. Not like what he, in his character, would he do, but it's it just feels like something that would happen, Wong just kind of bails him out for a little bit, lets him fight. I thought that was just humorous.
A random cameo.
And we also see Wong back, again, back to meh films. Doctor Strange was the mehest Marvel movie ever. And I'm glad they gave him, like, some more things to work with in this movie. Because he just kind of... because he, like, you know, he's a little more likable. He's not as, like, stodgy as he is in Doctor Strange. He's kind of, like, you know, doing his thing. taking part in fight clubs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Turns out his sister runs the damn thing. Which we get in this
like,
clever... When they do this clever little reveal, they take his shirt off and they make him fight, and he's, you know, that good old hero takes shirt off to fight. It's pretty funny. And then his sister shows up. He's like, "What?" And then she just starts whooping his ass.
And he's like, "Fuck."
Yeah, exactly. She just starts, like, walloping on his ass, and he's all like, it's like, "Look, I'm trying to help. Need to talk to you." And it's like one of those scenes where he's trying to talk to him, and she's like, "No, fuck you." And, you know, it's just, like, it's funny. But he ends up finally going, like, "Look, we need to, like, talk. I think Dad's after us again." Because, you know, the man just cannot leave them alone.
Nope, more family drama.
Yep, more family drama. And finally they end up getting into... they finally find a stalemate, but not because of what you think, that he appeals to some, like, love or something like that. Turns out that the Mandarin's guys show up. And basically, all hell breaks loose, and yet another great fight scene in this... just another great fight scene. And again, like I said, in this for this movie, they outdo themselves a lot when it comes to the action sequences.
No, the action sequences just get better and better every time.
Oh yeah, and you think the last one was utterly ridiculous in the best way possible? Oh, this fucking movie just goes, "Fuck you, we're doing it," and it's like they fight off the stair. Like it gets your blood pumping. I forgot to mention that. Like I forgot to mention that with the action scenes. It never fails to get your, like, blood pumping, and you're like, "Oh boy!" It's
always exciting.
Oh yeah, and you know, the fights are just phenomenal in this.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there is also a Black Widow in this movie in one of the fights. But anyway. So they end up having they have another fight. It is ridiculous. Like, they fall out of the building. There's, like, some construction stuff. They end up using that, and they're walking around. And Katie almost falls to her death, but Shang-Chi saves her and manages to help her out. And she ends up running into this one guy. And there's this little joke in the movie where she said one time that she saved Shang-Chi from a bully by shouting the lyrics of Hotel California. And then she ends up doing the same to this man before Shang-Chi just knocks him out. I think he even kills some of them. He just throws them out of there.
Yeah.
He just throws them out. And you're like, you know. Mm-hmm. But there's also this blue guy. I forget his name now, but he's like the Darth Vader of the Mandarin's crew. Like, he is like the most fearsome. Like, this guy should not be trifled. He's like the Darth Vader, basically. He's basically the right hand of the Mandarin, and he is Shang-Chi remembers him less than fondly as a guy who pushed him really hard as a kid. Oh, he's called the Death Dealer. I'm looking at it on Wikipedia now. It's the Death Dealer is what he's called, or Death Dealer. And that's basically what he does. He's a Death Dealer.
And he doesn't say a word. He's a silent but deadly type of side character.
Oh, yeah. And then when Shang-Chi falls through the window back into the building, here comes Death Dealer. And again, the fight scene is just... Oh, my God.
Oh, man. No, I remember, like, in the theater, I was watching that scene, and my hands, I was like, ugh. I was like, hold that. clamping my fist up.
Oh yeah, like they're just they're duking it out. Like you can just see all of those years of anger. Like there's like a little character moment because action like in storytelling I've learned that action should benefit the story. And again, it kind of shows Simu Liu's strength as an actor because you can feel just the rage and anger coming from him because you can tell he's probably been angry at this guy for the past decade maybe because he's like in his 20s in this movie and he left when he was about 14, which Shang-Chi is he's angry but he's willing to like let things be bygones and like he just wants to live his life, but like when he gets mad, like when he dukes out, like it's be careful, watch out.
Yeah. No, he doesn't care. Like he's gonna release all of his anger out on his fighting.
Oh yeah, and Death Dealer and his fight was just like another one where you're just like, oh my god, they can't outdo themselves, and they're just like, god, it's so good.
Like did yourself again.
It's just like you can tell like Shang-Chi is putting his all, and it's like a little thing in the backstory. He could never beat the Death Dealer. Like he trained hard and he beat many people, but he just couldn't beat the Death Dealer. And in this scene, he finally beats him.
Yes.
But he can't celebrate victory for too long because then, oh boy, the granddaddy himself, Mandarin, shows up and is like, my children, it's good to see you again.
Ooh boy.
And he's like, oh my children, I've come to see you again. And Shang-Chi and Shang-Chi and his sister are kind of like, oh yay. Well, they're not really happy about it, but I mean, Shang-Chi's like trying to be nice, and his sister's like, no, I'm not into this.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, basically. And we'll get to why she feels more angry, because one of the things I kind of see is, like, not really a flaw, but just something I noticed. Shang-Chi, he doesn't seem all that mad at his father, because you expect in these kind of movies, like, there'd be, like, a lot of resentment, like, you stole my childhood away, you bastard. But no, it's more the daughter who feels that. It's more of Zhu, who feels that. She's more, like, resentful, while, Shang-Chi is a bit more patient with him.
Yeah. You can tell he's, like, holding in all of his anger, but he's not, like, showing it.
Yeah, like, I thought it was kind of weird, but it's like, I guess he's not as angry, or he's trying to, like, be nice, I guess. He's trying to do the right thing, I guess, is a good point to leave it at. So we end up meeting the Mandarin in the modern day, and he's just kind of... He's happy to see them, surprisingly. He's not like, my children. Which, usually in these types of movies, there's like this big dramatic thing, and he's like, my children, how are you? And they're like, no, we're never coming with you. But, no, he's like genuinely happy to see them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Which again shows you just kind of how the movie quietly, kind of doesn't do what you'd expect. And, like, he's happy to see them. And, Shang-Chi's a little confused. Like, he's not mad, but he's, like, a little confused when he sees him. But, he's happy to see him. He genuinely seems to feel warmth towards them. Which, again, kind of shows that the Mandarin is a bit more complex than we first realized.
Yeah, and not just your standard MCU villain.
Yeah, he's not like your standard evil lord dad who, wants to use them for some reason and was mean to them. Which, again, we'll get into. But
this is a guy that does love his children.
Yeah. Which, the thing in the movie, he does love them. I do think that is true. Like, that's demonstrated throughout the movie. He does love them. I just don't know if he knows how to show it. I think that's his thing throughout the movie.
Yeah. That's a better way to put it.
And, again, we think he's like this imposing figure. No, he's just this guy. He's like, come home. And then Shang-Chi's like, Fine. So they end up heading back to the house. They end up heading back to where they lived, which is like this big epic compound, which definitely probably isn't CGI, but it's fine. And basically, basically they come back, and the Mandarin is like, he's not like demanding or anything. Like, again, it kind of goes back to the kind of subvert your expectations thing. But he's not like trying to tell him his evil plan, but he like legit is just like, how have you been? It's kind of weird. They have this family dinner, and there's this just scene, and he just wants to catch up with them. He just wants to see how they are. Like, do you have any thoughts on this, Jacob?
Yeah. I do love that they approached him, that they didn't approach him in, like, a super professional, like, oh, I need you to help me with my plan. No, like, he does love his children, but as you said, like, he doesn't know how to show it. Like, he genuinely, like, wants to know, like, how you guys are doing, how's your life. I love you, and I do love that I love the human side of the Mandarin, and he's not just, like, all business.
Oh, yeah. Like, he has like, a humorous side, which, you'd expect, like, this great warlord to be, like, the super serious, stoic kind of guy, but no, he has a sense of humor, at least. Like, he does crack some jokes occasionally.
Yes. And Tony Leung did a really great job in the movie.
Oh, yeah. He brings, like, everything to the character. He does the action really well, and he brings just the pathos to the character. He's both, intimidating, but he's also, like, you feel sorry for him at the same time. And I think that, again, back to the, thing Chris Stuckman said, best villains are the ones that you get. You understand where they're coming from.
Exactly.
And, again, he's just, and he ends up giving some of his backstory. He explains, which kind of confirms my theory a little bit. He kind of implicitly confirms that he fell in love with Shang-Chi and Zhu's mother because she could challenge him. And he just didn't, because he's been so used to conquering and whatnot. So when he finds someone who could dare stand up to him, he finally decides, maybe I should try something different. I should try and live another life, a better life, maybe. Which does end tragically. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jacob?
Repeat that again.
Yeah, I was just talking about how he explains his backstory to him. Or to Katie, because Katie is kind of us, the audience, are like, oh, what's this,
Uh-huh. Okay, yeah. The Flash, his backstory, he actually does have a reason. He's not just like, I want to take over the world. No, he actually does have a reason. Like, Thanos in the MCU had a reason. And as we said before, those are some of the best villains. They actually have a reason and motivation instead of just taking over the world. And his reason and motivation is 100% completely understandable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he basically just kind of tells the backstory a little bit, and that's why he wanted his children to come back, because he basically says, just says, I needed your necklaces because I've been hearing your mother. And Shang-Chi and Zhu react like anyone else would. They're like, Dad, Mom's dead. She's been dead for a few years. And he's like, no, let me show you. And he ends up, like, putting the stones down, and he ends up showing them this magical map, basically. Which is beautiful CGI, by the way. I mean, yeah, again, it's one of those you can tell it's CGI, but it looks really good, nonetheless.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
I mean, he basically explains to them what his plan is. And again, it's not like an evil, I'm going to unleash these, like, evil things into the world, or I want to take over the world, because he's already taken over the world. Which, I'm sure that would be kind of boring, because he's already done it. But he basically just explains, your mother's been calling to me, and I'm trying to find a path to where she lived, which is this village called Talo, as we described earlier. and she's been calling me. She's wanting me to free her. And, of course, the children react to this in an interesting way. Again, Shang-Chi, it's kind of surprising that he reacts the way he does, because you'd expect he'd be like, she's dead because of you. But no, he's he rather patiently says, Dad, Mom's gone. And, I'm sorry, but you can't change that. And he's all like, and then he kind of gives the more understandable version, with my power, I can do anything.
Yes.
And, of course, she's a little resentful. Of course, his sister is a bit more resentful that she never taught him how to fight, which she explains later. I think, if I remember correctly, Shang-Chi, or the Mandarin wants to talk to Shang-Chi alone, so they send Katie and Zhu to, Zhu's old room. I forgot to mention before, so sorry about this, guys. Zhu is all pissed off at Shang-Chi because Shang-Chi said that he's going to leave. And he did leave, as we find out. And he promises his sister he'll be there for her. And then he doesn't show up. And it's actually really painful, because you can definitely see the pain in her face when she describes it.
Oh, yeah. Especially in the fight scene between them.
Oh, yeah. The fight scene earlier, you can definitely see, she still has a lot of, anger. Again, Shang-Chi's the more reserved one. He's not one who'll just lash out, but she's the one who gets more angry. She's more like, why did you leave me? You left me with him, and, yada yada, and then she's all mad at her dad. And,
yeah.
Not typical getting angry at your dad things. It's more of, he wouldn't let you train to be a badass assassin. But she ends up explaining she learned anyway, because fuck the haters. And she ends up getting pretty good with this little rope thing. I don't know what it's called. Please, in the comments, if you know what it's called, you can say that in the comments if you want. But basically she learned how to fight anyway, and started the fighting ring. I think she explains that in the earlier scene. But back to Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi and his dad, basically are talking. And again, he's not hostile to him. He's just kind of he just says, look, Dad, Mom's dead, and we can't change that. And that's kind of the Mandarin's arc, is that he's really been unable to move on from his wife's death in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell, he really misses her, and he truly thinks that she's still here, and he just wants to bring her back because he feels that she's still around.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Your mother's calling.
And we have a couple of scenes where she's it's her voice, but it's calling to him, and it says, and it's telling him to go to Ta Lo to free her because he thinks that they're imprisoning her for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Shang-Chi's like, dude, Mom's dead. And I'm sorry, we can't change that. And, as soon as you realize that, we gotta, whatever they're gonna do. I don't know what, I don't remember exactly what he says, but he basically just tries to tell his dad, as softly as possible, that their mom's dead and there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, but he's in denial about it.
But, yeah, he's like, no, I'm telling you, I can save her. But, But again, again, the Mandarin's not hostile to him. He's like, all right, you can go to your room and have a good time, go to sleep and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up going to. Oh yes, he does reveal his plan that he's going to go to Ta Lo and basically destroy it so that he can get his wife back. That's why they go to the bedroom. And, not the bedroom, it's a prison actually. And their children are like, dude, that's not going to work. They're like, you can try it, but it's not going to work. Not going to happen. And he's like, you just don't see. And he ends up imprisoning them in their dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up hanging out in the prison. They're like, shit, what are we going to do? And they end up going to They end up looking around, and they end up finding the MVP supporting character of the movie, Trevor Slattery, who, if the MCU stans might know him from the pretty underrated movie Iron Man 3. I actually think Iron Man 3 is a good movie, despite despite the more underwhelming aspects of it.
Yeah, I actually like Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah, it's a good movie. Yeah, or I think it's a solid movie anyway. I don't think it's great.
Yeah.
It's certainly better than Iron Man 2.
Yeah, by far.
But Trevor Slattery is basically like this washed up actor, and he was pretending to be the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. Well, there's a little movie called this is a little one shot called All Hail the King, which I've not seen, but I've heard of it. And it's basically where like some people of the actual Mandarin end up kidnapping him. Well, apparently, Mandarin was going to kill him, but he thought he was funny, so he kept him alive. Which again shows that, the Mandarin is a guy. He does find things humorous. He's not just like this merciless lord.
Oh yeah, he's definitely goofy.
He does have his goofier moments, I guess I should say. But I thought it was so funny how he kept Trevor alive, and because he just thought he was funny.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, you know what? He becomes kind of like a court jester for him, which again I think is great. It's just a great way to take his character, and Trevor is kind of this like sleazy character in Iron Man 3, but he's like super likable here. He's really he's nice. He's overcome his demons. That's what he says anyway. He's like, I've overcome my demons, and I'm gonna focus on acting. Yeah, and he also provides a lot of the comedy in this movie as well that isn't from Katie. What were you saying?
He's sort of like the hippie friend that you want.
Yeah, basically. He is very hippie-like. Mm-hmm. And he has this little furry guy. He's called a Hundun called Morris. Which, another really funny scene is when he shows up, and they're like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not the only one who can see him. Oh, Morris is real." And he's like really excited about it, and they just look at him like he's crazy. And yeah, that's really funny.
No, it's a funny scene.
Yeah, it's a funny scene. And it turns out Morris can guide them to Lao, and Shang Chi says, and I forgot to mention again, Ta Lo is apparently very difficult to get into, which I think we'll get into as the movie progresses along, or as we progress along in this little discussion. But basically Morris offers to let them into Ta Lo, which is infamously hard to get into. I mean, I think the Mandarin had to study for years in order to get in there. Jacob, you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, did you have anything to add?
Oh, yeah, I do. What were we talking about again? My bad.
Oh, no, it's okay. I just said that Morris was going to get him the Ta Lo.
Oh, yes. Had to get a quick drink of water.
Oh, that's fine.
Where they had to go Ta Lo. It was actually a beautiful scene. Like, a lot of the stuff, like, it was CG, but it was CG. Mm-hmm. And Ben Kingsley added a lot of humor, which he executed very well.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious in this movie. There's also another great scene, but that he does. But again, we'll get to that as we move on with this.
Mm-hmm. And his relationship with the headless creature, very adorable actually.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that's really endearing.
It is.
And he kind of treats him as his pet.
Yeah.
It's actually really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, after a while of they formulate a plan to escape. And they do, because, a plot's got to happen. And they end up getting to Ta Lo, which, again, is really hard to get into. So, they decide to get Katie, who drives, there's a little thing in the movie where she drives like a maniac, but she has, like, mad driving skills, apparently. And, she ends up, they end up breaking out of there, and they end up getting to the pathway to Ta Lo. And it's pretty much like drag racing, which, of course, Katie is familiar with, because she drives around, like, she does a lot of slides and stuff. And they basically end up making it. And they make it to Ta Lo, and it is beautiful, just when we get there. And,
gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, there's also a little scene when they get there, and Ben Kingsley's character, or Trevor, is kind of going off on how he found his passion for acting. He watched the original Planet of the Apes movie, which is one of my favorite movies, by the way. Phenomenal movie.
Oh, yeah.
And he just kind of goes on, and he's like, man, I never knew how those apes, I don't know how those apes acted. And, of course, I'm getting, and everyone else, I guess, has seen Planet of the Apes because they all look at him really weirdly, or also it's just common sense. But but they look at him like he's crazy, and it doesn't just end there. It just kind of like, there it goes, He thinks like they're genuine apes. It's really funny. Yep. I mean, Trevor is just great in this movie.
It really is.
So anyways, they get in to Ta Lo, and again, it is beautiful. I mean, it's mostly CG, like I said before, but man, like, they really made this world come alive.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It is amazing CG.
I mean, it looks like it's basically another dimension where these people, who are kind of like these monk, warrior, sorcerer kind of people, and these kind of monk, warrior sort of people, and they protect this, like, wall, which holds this thing called the Dweller in Darkness, which we end up learning about when we get there. So, they finally get to a village where there's, like, people. And, of course, the people are very suspicious of these outsiders coming in this beat-up car.
As usual.
As usual, yeah. And Shang Chi gets out. He's like, no, wait. I'm friendly, okay? My dad, he's going kind of crazy. He wants to kill he thinks you're holding our mom hostage. And they kind of look at him like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And then this lady comes, and I think she's played by someone who's in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
She was in one of those movies, which definitely inspired this movie, by the way.
Big time.
I mean, I've not seen the whole Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but basically this movie is like the Marvel equivalent of that movie. Like, the action is very similar. Like, they have very similar techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And they pull it off pretty well, for the most part. And so they end up meeting their aunt for the first time, Zhu and Shang-Chi. And it's this woman by the name of Ying Nan. And she's pretty nice, and she's like, wait, I know these guys, or I don't know if she knows, she says she knows them, but she's like, oh, you look so much like my sister, that kind of thing. And, she's nice, she gives him a place to stay, and basically, Shang-Chi explains what's going to happen. He's like, my dad's basically going crazy, they're going, like, him and his group of people, they're going to attack, like, soon, so you guys better prepare. Ying Nan, of course, is not happy about this, and then ends up giving some explanation about the history of Ta Lo, which basically was a bunch of years ago. It was attacked by these things called the Dweller, by these things, which was led by this thing called the Dweller in Darkness, which is like this Lovecraftian monstrosity.
Mm-hmm.
But a dragon ended up defeating it. It's called the Great Protector. And it basically trapped them in this, like, void-like thing, and it keeps them trapped in there until someone breaks them out. Basically, Ying-Nan explains that the Dweller in Darkness can influence people. And it's shown in the movie, it can, like, feed off your greatest desire. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And basically, that's the explanation for the voice. It's not his wife. Basically, the Dweller in Darkness is using him to try and free it.
Yes. A way to manipulate him.
Yeah, and it's like, damn, like, that's kind of dark. But she explains that, and she's like, I guess we're going to have to prepare for battle. And so they get to a little montage of battle. Trevor's hanging out with them, doing nothing. Katie is starting to learn how to shoot arrows. And Zhu and Shang Chi end up preparing to fight the Mandarin. And pretty great scene. Not really going to say much. Not really deeper analysis on this one.
No, just a training montage, which was really well done.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's kind of your typical training montage, they're preparing for the epic battle between between Shang-Chi and the Mandarin. And they build up this fight a lot, because the Mandarin is also prepared, and you can tell he is kind of conflicted about this. I mean, he isn't conflicted about helping his wife, but he is conflicted about, like, he doesn't want to hurt his children. Which, again, kind of goes back to the, yes, he does love his children. Again, he doesn't really know how to show it that much. He's bad when it comes to those sort of things. Which I forgot to mention earlier, which is another commonality in the show. But there is a scene where they talk about the Mandarin choosing normalcy. And you really get this sense of tragedy when his mom dies. Because you almost feel like this good part of the Mandarin, this good thing that the Mandarin had, it died with her.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. It's also beautiful at the same. It's like beautiful in a, like, tragic way. And it's like you can see them. They were happy. It's almost like when his mom died. It's like the good part of him died with her, mostly. Yeah. Which, again, mostly, not entirely, but basically, like, he relapsed back to his warlord ways. Because, he had encountered love for the first time in his life. And he doesn't really know much else but violence and conquering. And when he finds this woman, and he finally decides to give up the role of the conqueror. And he gives that up, and then the Iron Gang kill her. And of course, he's devastated by this. And we kind of see most of his motivation is him trying to come to terms with the guilt he feels over, because he blames himself, obviously, because it was his enemies who killed her.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? I don't really know what else to say on that, but I forgot them.
It would only make sense.
Oh,
what?
Oh, no, you talk.
Okay. Yeah, it would only make sense that he would, like, have, like, this guilt on him that, like, he basically, like, killed his wife because, like, it was his army. And as we said before, like, his reasoning and motivation, like, so understandable. And, like, when he hears his voice, like, that he so happens to think is his wife, which it's not, really, like, you can feel his pain. Like, he really, like, I just want my wife back. Like, I want to free her. I'm going to do whatever it takes to free her. But Shang Chi and his sister are like, father, he's dead. She's dead. Like, she's gone. But, like, he's in denial about it. And that's when he starts training to
he's basically oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I finished.
I was just saying, he basically is stuck in the denial part of grief.
Yes, super in denial.
And because, and of course, because he's like this, he thinks he's a god, basically. So that doesn't help things at all.
No, it makes things worse.
And because, he has all this power and he's lived for so long, he thinks he's a god, so that makes things worse. And he's also really stubborn, so that's not going to help anything either.
No.
But basically, he sums up to, he misses his wife, and he just wants her back. Even though, there's probably a part of him that's telling him it's not real, but he's just, again, he's stuck in denial.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to believe it, that it's, not real.
Yeah, because, if you heard someone you cared about, was talking to you, selling to free them, who wouldn't want to save them? And it's it's real to him, I guess. It's one of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets his forces together. And, hold on. So basically, after the montage is over, and we got some of the other backstory about Dweller in Darkness and how it's influencing the Mandarin, we finally, we finally get the battle. And, hoo boy. Probably the most epic battle since Black Panther in terms of just single movies. Because in terms of epic battles, I don't think anything's going to be in-game. But in terms of, the solo movies, this one rivals Black Panther in terms of just the most epic battle ever.
Oh, yeah. It exceeds Black Panther in so many ways.
It's
so epic.
Oh, yeah. It's just, again, movie just finding a way to outdo itself every time. It was almost like the people making this were like, okay, how are we going to get crazier? We got to keep upping the ante. You can...
Making it more blood pumping.
Oh, yeah. And the battle is just Razor Fist is kind of yeah, you pussies, and get out of the way. And Mandarin is trying to be a little diplomatic. He's like, step out of the way. We're going to free, my wife's in there. I'm going to go free her. And of course, Ying Nan, that's her sister, tries to explain to him, man, you are being used. If you do what you're about to do, you will let these things wreak havoc across the universe. He's like, don't care, and the battle begins. my dub of the battle, basically. Which is another thing that the Mandarin struggles with in the movie. He's one of those guys, he's kind of like Anakin Skywalker, or Darth Vader. He's one of those, he doesn't give a shit if the world burns, as long as the people he cares about are safe.
Yes, he's one of those villains. I wouldn't really call him a villain, but yeah. Better way to sum it up.
Yeah, it's like he just cannot accept loss, which I guess that's his arc throughout the movie. His arc is that he can't accept loss. And
yes.
He wants to find he needs to defy nature in order to get what he wants back. Because again, he just can't handle the fact that it's gone. But of course, as the movie goes, we get a beautiful end to that arc when he realizes that he has people who matter to him now, and he should focus on them instead of what was past. But again, we'll get to that. So yeah, this battle is awesome.
Oh yeah, it is.
There was a lot of build up to this. Shang Chi is I guess I'm gonna have to kill him, and he doesn't want to. And also he ends up learning the skill that his mom had used to stump him when they first met, which is a really nice little touch there. And she ends up giving him a really good lesson. She says, don't clench your fist. You're not going to kill. He's been taught all his life to kill and all that. But she says, don't do that. You have to, let it flow through you, Star Wars stuff, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But back to the battle. So it's just an epic. It's just a war, basically.
Oh yeah.
Between all
it's
these.
Just like, ooh, like we don't give a fuck. We're just gonna let it all out. And we are gonna make this as epic as possible.
And we get throughout the movie we get Shang-Chi's inner conflict about growing up as well as killing his own father, because you can tell in the movie he doesn't want to kill his dad. He wants to see the goodness in him because he definitely knows there's the goodness inside of him.
Yeah.
But he's like I don't know. I can't convince him otherwise, and he comes to accept like I may have to kill him. And they end up having this epic. They end up having a fight, and basically, this is probably the only time that he's really malevolent in the movies, when he starts mocking him. He's like, "You still fear me now? Like even now when you're fighting me, you still fear me." And he just like knocks him into the river, basically. I mean, do you have anything to say? Hold on,
yeah, the conflict between Shang Chi and the Mandarin. A lot of emotions going on, and the fight scene between them was just it's fucking epic. Just the entire final battle was epic, but their final fight between each other was like a mixture of emotions and just like resentment. Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say any more about it. It's just it's really great.
And sorry.
No, you're good. I'm done.
I was just saying, at first, he basically dominates, Mandarin basically dominates Shang-Chi throughout the entire fight. At least at first he does. And he's basically walloping his ass, taunting him, and saying, "Oh, you still fear me even now?" And he does explain to Katie that he did end up killing those guys that had killed his mom. He ended up fulfilling the mission. Which, again, he plays really well. But he ends up fighting his dad. His dad completely roundhouses him and sends him packing into the river. And then, this movie isn't crazy enough, a freaking dragon saves his life. It's actually the Great Protector. The Great Protector saves his life, and he just flies him out of there. It's just, you can't get any more epic than this.
Whew, man, you're telling me. Fucking awesome. And the dragon, the CG is fucking excellent.
Oh my.
You can tell it's CG, but it's fucking great.
And I know there was some guy I was telling Tahig the other day. I was talking to Tahig the other day, and I saw him on Facebook. And some guy's like, "Oh, it just turns into a CG fest at the end of the movie." And I was kind of joking, but I'm all like, "Don't listen to that guy. Watch the movie. Please watch this movie." And he's like, "Okay, I'll watch it." I wasn't gonna listen to that guy, but But yeah, CG looks great in this.
Yeah, it's really great CG.
I mean, he looks, and it does look a little fake at times, but most of the time it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And he just, his dad ends up, or the Mandarin, goes to the place where he hears his wife calling him, and she says, "Do it now," and he starts punching the wall with the rings, using his full power with the 10 rings. And ends up starting to let some of these monstrosities out. And those things are pretty... they aren't slouches.
No.
They'll literally suck your soul out. Like, there's a funny little scene where Razor Fist's like, "I'm not joining you," and then some guy just gets his soul sucked out, and he's like, "Fine." And then they start, fighting. Again, as if this battle can't get any crazier, the Dweller in Darkness things show up and just start wrecking everybody.
Yeah, and it just gets even more bonkers and more awesome.
It's like, how epic does this movie have to be? Like, this movie is too epic. Might be too epic.
It's so overwhelming now.
Yeah. But it's earned, though. That's the difference. It's not like,
Oh, absolutely.
in some other movies where it's like a bunch of crazy shit's happening. Like, it's built up to this, and it's paying off rather nicely.
Yes. It's earned, as you said.
Oh, yeah. And he just starts beating, and, oh, yeah, he gets saved by that dragon, and it's just, like, the most... It's wonderful. It's, like, the most chaotic thing of all time. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna show up now. And, of course, they earn it, so that's the good thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally, and then he finally confronts his father for the last time. And oh boy, you want to take it from here, Jacob? Just this final fight between Shang-Chi and his dad?
Oh yeah, man. The final fight, it is fucking awesome. This final fight, it beats Black Panther's final fight, which I found to be very disappointing. Just like a bunch of CG, and yeah, I found the final fight in Black Panther disappointing. But this final fight, it was fucking awesome. It's everything that the final fight in Black Panther should have been. Like I said before, the mixture of emotion and the fight choreography. I gotta get into that once again. Fight choreography, fucking excellent.
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, one of the things that this movie really nails is that the action benefits the story. It is not just action for the sake of it, and nothing demonstrates this more than the final fight between Shang-Chi and the Mandarin. And it is an epic fight. Like, they're taunting each other. Shang-Chi's just like, look what you're doing. You've lost your damn mind. Like, you're letting all of these things out. You can't do that. Mom's dead, alright? You can't... It's like, you're making a mistake, and he's like, no, I'm not. You just don't see it. So then Shang-Chi ends up using the little thing that Ying Nan taught him, and ends up claiming the rings. He ends up taking the rings from his dad. And let me tell you, that was... You think this fight wasn't already epic? Oh boy. It just dropped the ball with how epic that was. When he gets the rings, and he's like, oh, shit. Ah! Ah! It was so good.
Yeah, that was a big fanboy moment.
Oh my god. And
For sure.
And then his dad's like, what? but you gotta give it to him. He's keeping on. He keeps going. And he's just getting his... He's just like walloping on him. But then Shang-Chi defeats him using the stuff that Ying Nan had taught him. And even when he has the opportunity to kill him, again, it's an emotional catharsis, too. Because you can definitely, again, you can really feel all that pain and anger that he feels. Not he's mad. Of course, he probably blames his dad for... there is a part of him that probably blames his dad for his mom's death, and you can definitely tell he's finally letting all of that anger and sadness and resentment out when he fights his dad, and he ends up defeating him.
Mm-hmm.
And and then the Dweller in Darkness ends up breaking out, which is bad. It's basically this monstrosity. But Shang-Chi chooses to let his father live. Because, of course, he still loves his dad very much. Despite the fact that his dad's been kind of a dick to him the whole time. So then Shang-Chi ends up getting attacked by the Dweller in Darkness. And it's kind of, again, I compare him a lot to Darth Vader, because he kind of goes through a Darth Vader arc in this movie.
Yeah, he kind of does.
He's looking back at the thing, then he's looking at his son, he's looking at what he's doing, he's not really sure what to do, and then he finally decides that, you know what, I gotta stop. This is the beauty of the Mandarin's arc, is that it ends just in the most perfect way. I think.
It really does.
Now, some might say that a self-sacrifice is a little cheap, but I think it's earned in this case. Because you can definitely tell, like, he finally lets go. Like, he finally decides, I lost my wife. And yeah, that sucks. It's really unfortunate. But I still have my children. And they're a part of her as well as me. And I am going to save them. And not just because it's the right thing to do, but it's also just his way of showing that he did love them. After all.
And once again, it's all about execution.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And, he brings it out. He ends up letting the thing take him and taking his essence. And it's a sad scene, because you can tell that Shang-Chi, of course, that, he may have, he may have wrecked his life in a lot of ways, but it's still his dad, And Simu Liu does it really well. Really conveys that, that sadness, that despite everything, his dad's dead. And you can definitely feel that, you can definitely feel that, he finally decides to let go, but now he'll never, have the time to catch up and reconcile fully. Again, it's really sad. I'm getting kind of sad thing talking about.
It made me feel something.
Exactly.
And I have a heart of stone.
Yeah, it's like the scene in Winter Soldier when Bucky's beating the shit out of Steve, and he's just like, "I'm with you till the end of the line." It's like that kind of scene where you're like,
Yeah, it did kind of remind me of that scene a little bit when I first saw it in theaters.
But the Mandarin decides to give his life to save his son, which is what many people would probably call the purest love. Which again, it's finally him overcoming his denial, and maybe not him fully overcoming his denial, but it's him understanding that he's done wrong, and he decides to give his life to save what he does have instead of focusing on what he's lost. And again, I think it's just beautiful. I kind of understated a little bit, but the Mandarin is great in this movie.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that was just a beautiful way to end the arc for him. And
it
again,
really was.
And yet again, action benefits the story.
Exactly.
And of course, the Dweller of Darkness starts wreaking havoc, and the dragon comes, and they start having this epic CG battle, which looks good for the most part. I'll just leave it at that. Then Shang-Chi and his sister end up fighting, or they end up going off and jumping on the dragon, shooting at it, and they're just blowing shit up, and they're killing it, and yada yada. And here is one scene I will admit that I kind of was like, I don't know. It's the scene where Katie just launches the arrow right at the Dweller in Darkness and and mortally wounds it. Because she got pretty good with the bow. But I don't know. It's not bad or anything, but it's just kind of weird. I don't know. It just feels weird to me.
Yeah, it kind of feels out of place.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that happened.
Right. Yeah, whatever.
But, so they end up defeating the Dweller in Darkness, and to speed things up a little bit. So they kill the Dweller in Darkness, and Shang-Chi ends up getting the rings, all of them, and he ends up taking them. And they end up turning yellow. They're not blue anymore, like his dad's is. When his dad wore them. So they kill the Dweller in Darkness, and Shang-Chi and his sister are of course sad. I think Shang-Chi's more sad than his sister is over their dad's death. But but they end up doing the whole Star Wars thing where they celebrate after they've won, and they end up returning back to the real world. Not the real world, but they end up returning back to our world.
Yeah.
And basically that's the end of the movie. Then we go back to like I said before, Katie and Shang-Chi visit their friends again and give them the ridiculous story of what happened with what happened with their dad, and of course they're like, okay, that's ridiculous. When I said go out there and do something with your life, this isn't exactly what I meant. And then and then there's a portal that opens, and it's Wong, and he's like, hey, are you looking, I'm looking for Shang-Chi, or Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi's like, that's me, and then he's like, come with me, I need to talk with you about something. And that's the end of the movie. Except for some post-credit scenes that are pretty funny. One of them is pretty funny anyway. But yeah, the ending is kind of everything wraps up. There's a nice little coda to add everything. And like I said, the cherry on top is if this movie wasn't already amazing and just wrapped up everything beautifully. They didn't force a romance. Ha! Yay!
Yes. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, Jesus. Exactly, Jacob. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. I'd just be rambling on and losing train of thought a lot. But basically, yeah, the movie ends rather nicely. It's a nice little wrap-up. And I know we said that the kind of Star Wars they celebrate and go back to kind of a normal ending. But again, all about execution. And I think the ending is a nice little coda. And like I said, the cherry on top wasn't a forced romance. Thank God.
Oh, man.
And Wong shows up, and he's like, I need to talk about your rings, because it's magic-related, which I'm sure they'll explain later. But, yeah. What did you think of the ending? Like, the ending of the movie?
I loved it. It was the perfect ending for this movie. And I do want to talk about the post-credit scene, which I do find hilarious, which we also see during the movie. It's where they like are like, okay, let's go on this mission, and they're like, maybe, and then it cuts to them singing karaoke, singing along to California,
Hotel California, yeah,
which was hilarious. And then in the post credit, Wong joins along with them, which was even more funny.
Yeah, it's funny because again, I forgot to mention Shang Chi. Despite being this like badass, like best fighter in the MCU, he's kind of he's a normal guy. He seems like a guy you just run into. Like he has like he has like normal interests. Yeah,
he's very down to earth.
Yeah, exactly. That's a better term. Thank you, Jacob. He's like, and but yeah, they're like talking about stuff, and there's also a cameo from Captain Marvel and Hulk, who's back at Bruce Banner for some reason. I thought they like figured something out, but all right, whatever. Then it makes me wonder, when did this take place, but that doesn't matter. But basically Wong is like, okay, we're done. Like he said, he's like, oh yeah, we're done with this. He's like, hey, you want to hang out with us? And Wong's like, okay. And then they start like singing Hotel California. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was one of the funniest parts of the movie for sure.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention another really funny scene. Trevor pretends he's dead, and then Morris walks up, and you think it's gonna be like this really sad scene where Morris is like comes up to him and is like, oh no, he's dead, and then he pops up and he's like, hey, I'm acting. This is gonna be my best performance yet. Now come play dead with me. It's so good. This movie is amazing. I gotta say it again. Like, this film is amazing. It just brings everything to the table. Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
No, I just said it's so fucking good.
Oh my god. It's like, it brings everything to the table. It's got humor, it's got heart. Oh man, but that's like for the after. And then the other credit scene is Zhu, Shang-Chi's sister, finally doing what she wanted to do. She takes over the 10 Rings, and she finally achieves her wish of letting women train along with everyone else, because she makes it a thing throughout the movie, which is another thing that I know some people who don't like diversity and everything might complain about, but I actually thought it was done pretty well, because I definitely, it's definitely not a stretch to think that there's some people who are patriarchal, and the Mandarin's a bit of an old school guy, so he's like, we're not teaching women how to fight. But she ends up taking over, and she ends up teaching women how to fight, which is a nice little coda to her arc as well. Because her arc in the movie is kind of her forgiving Shang-Chi, and also coming to terms with her own legacy as well. Or at least that in my view. I could be wrong. Some guy's gonna rip my ass in the comments. But yeah, that was Shang-Chi the movie. There's probably some stuff I forgot to talk about, so let's talk about it real quick. I don't know.
Oh, I do want to talk about the score.
Oh, yeah. The music. Oh, man. Music is great in this. Forgot to mention that.
It fits so well with the movie.
Oh, yeah, there's like hip-hop and music that sounds like something out of a traditional, Chinese, Japanese thing. Again, if you're Chinese or Japanese, I'm very sorry, because we're probably going to get a lot of shit wrong about your culture. But yeah, the music is great in this. Also, when the action is like during the action scenes, it's just like, oh my god, like it is like the Green Knight, where the music just complements the movie so well.
It does. Like the music in the action sequences, the bus scene in particular, it just amps it up so much.
Oh, sorry, that was my computer. You continue what you're saying.
What you said about the music, like Green Knight, it just amps it up even more. In this, in the action sequences, when they bring in when they have the music, the bus scene in particular, it just makes it even more badass.
I'd say the bus scene is a masterpiece.
It really is.
I'm like, yep, fuck it, Green Knight, A++, we're done. 5 stars, end of the review. You can go home. We like this better than the Green Knight. No, I'm kidding. I think Green Knight's a better movie. But Shang-Chi is right up there with 2021 has been a great year for movies. I just gotta say.
It really has, in regards to great movies and box office, surprisingly.
Oh yeah, the box office has been blowing up. Like everyone's all like, "Oh no, the movie theaters are gonna die," and it's like, and Shang-Chi is like, "Hold my beer." I'll bring them back to the theaters.
Movie theaters are back, bitches.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, it's and also I think James Bond did pretty successfully. I saw a new Bond movie tonight, which is why we're doing this a little later than I would have liked. But hey, we got this done. We're doing it right now, which I forgot to mention at the beginning. But, man. But Shang-Chi, oh yeah, the music. Back to the bus scene, the action, the music, just everything about that scene is just phenomenal.
No, as we said before, easily, it's right up there with, the train scene in Spider-Man 2, or the hand-to-hand combat scene between Captain America and Winter Soldier. Easily, one of the best action sequences ever in a comic movie. Oh, for sure.
Most definitely. This movie better become, one of the best superhero movies ever made. Because it deserves it.
Oh, yeah. I think it will.
I'm so sorry that I had misjudged this movie, and I'm glad that I saw it in the theaters, though. But I am glad that I overcame my initial doubts and saw it in the theater. Because this film is worth your time.
It was definitely a theater experience, for sure.
I mean, I'm sure it would have been awesome if I saw it, but I probably would have felt regret that I didn't see it in the theater.
Yeah.
I mean...
But thank Stuckman for giving it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, thanks, Chris Stuckman. If it weren't for you, we probably wouldn't have gone to see this.
Yeah.
Because, let me just tell you, the trailers, I forgot to mention this, the trailers did not do this movie justice at all.
Oh, no.
They're not... let me just get this out of the way. They're not bad, but it's just, they made it look like a cliched movie, and it's just not.
Yeah, your typical MCU movie, some awesome fight scenes, some good humor, but the story, the characters, probably would have been disposable.
Yeah, or at least that's the thought at first. That's what the trailers, give the thing to. And I would have fired the people who made the trailers. Or, well, maybe not, because people still saw it and became, this big hit. But I would have at least chided them, man. But then again, how do you market a movie like this? I'll be fair to them and just ask, how do you market a movie like this?
Yeah, that's true.
You can't. It's a kung fu superhero movie. And they just kind of went with the generic superhero trailer route, which is... which, again, I think was a bit underwhelming, but I can get why they do it, now that I think about it now. But I feel like the trailers really undersold the movie, though.
Oh, yeah. As you said, they aren't doing this movie any justice at all.
Oh, yeah. And, this film... And again, Shang-Chi, like, again, do you have any other, like, thoughts?
Just my closing thoughts. As I said before, it's everything that I've wanted a Marvel movie to be like. This movie was just fucking awesome. The action sequences, some of the best I've seen in a Marvel film, if not in the MCU. The journey that Shang-Chi goes through is relatable. The movie goes in different directions that you don't expect. It's funny. There are surprises. It's definitely one of the better Marvel movies, for sure.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Basically, I agree with most everything he said. Shang-Chi is just one of those movies that I wish Marvel made more movies like this. I really wish that they gave people who feel passion for it, and you can definitely feel the love in this movie.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying you can't feel the love in all the other MCU movies. I'm trying really hard not to sound like I'm digging at them. But this movie really feels like they put like 110% of effort into it. Like, it's just remarkable.
Big time.
I mean, the acting, the storytelling, the characterization, all of it is really strong.
And the representation of Asian culture.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, and that. They represent Asian culture without sounding like they're, virtue signaling. And it's so wonderful to see.
It really is. And I'm glad that this movie is doing so well at the box office.
Oh, yeah, me
definitely
too.
Deserved it.
I mean, for a character, it's another, like I said before, it's another risk from Marvel. It was another gamble from Marvel. Like, this movie could have flopped hard. And the MCU has been kind of known for this. They pull out yet another just great film. You think, they pull out another movie about a character who's not as well known, but they end up somehow making it phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. This and, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, like, a tree and a talking raccoon, like, how can that be good? But, yeah, it's known to be one of the best Marvel movies. When Shang-Chi, one of the best Marvel movies.
Oh yeah, I mean it's up there with The Winter Soldier, which is still my favorite MCU movie. I don't know about you, Jacob.
Endgame is my personal favorite, but Winter Soldier is definitely number 2. Shang-Chi, it might be in my top 5.
Oh yeah, it's definitely in my top 5. Like this movie, like this, like Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, this, and like Endgame. And then, like, Infinity War is, like, my top 5, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this film is just great. And, I mean, Martin Scorsese can say what he wants about MCU movies not being art or whatever he wants to say. But Shang-Chi proves that superhero films can, they're not for one, it's not afraid to tell a compelling story, but it's also not afraid to have fun, which I think is one of the biggest strengths of the MCU. They're not afraid of what they are. Like, they're not afraid to be like, look, they're superhero movies. Let's just have fun. And it's like the great story is an added bonus, at least in this case. It's not always the case with MCU movies, but they're all fun in a certain way. This just is really good, and it also is fun. Like, there's no pretension about it.
No, there isn't an ounce of pretentiousness in this movie.
Like, I don't want to say, like, it's not like a Nolan movie, but I'm not trying to say Nolan's pretentious or anything, because I love the Dark Knight movies. But it's a movie that's thoughtful, but it's also not afraid to have fun with itself. And that's really, I think, is the greatest strength of Shang-Chi.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I mean, Shang-Chi is just... and I mean, Shang-Chi is just, again, the MCU always finds a way to keep me coming back. I'll be like, oh man, I need a little break for a while. And then the MCU comes out with something crazy, like this, or WandaVision, or Loki, and I'm just I'm right back in. Like, oh man. Or, the new Spider-Man movie that's coming out in December. Which, by the way, I'm really hoping we can do a Spider-Man movie review before that movie comes out. Maybe the MCU ones. But, because those are pretty good, too. I think those are underappreciated. But again, we'll talk about that at another time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this just shows all of the strengths of the MCU and why the MCU has gone on for as long as it is. It took a risk with this character, and it succeeded beyond its wildest imagination again because it stuck to its guns and instead, let's not just have fun. Let's make something that's really good and can be really thoughtful. Just because it's fun, that doesn't mean we can't lower ourselves. Let's have a good story with characters that we like and we want to see succeed.
We can actually make a good movie that has a compelling story and characters, not just all about action and big CGI fights. We can actually make a good movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and don't get me wrong, the MCU has definitely done this a lot. That's why they're still successful, of course. But I think this movie, it just shows why the MCU is so successful.
Absolutely. For sure.
And, again, I'm very excited for what's coming next. We got Spider-Man. We got the new Spider-Man movie coming out. Which, again, hope we can do some Spider-Man reviews before that movie comes out.
Oh, yeah.
And the new Doctor Strange movie, which I hope is so much better than the first one.
Oh, yeah. Really hope so.
The first one wasn't bad. It was just super meh. But, again, that's another topic for another time. But yeah, Shang Chi, please watch it. It is well worth your time.
Yeah, anyone who's watching this, who hasn't seen it yet, give it all the support it needs. Go see this movie now. It's worth your time. As we said, one of the best Marvel movies for sure. It's great.
And also I think it might be on Disney Plus. So if you use Disney Plus, go watch it, please, because this movie deserves it. It's way better than I anticipated it being, and even more so.
Way better.
Oh, yeah.
And a billion times better than Black Widow, for sure.
Oh, God, yes. Maybe we'll talk about Black Widow someday. But, so, yeah, that was our second episode for Shang-Chi. Not Shang-Chi, Brit and Jake Go to the Movies. This is our show called Shang-Chi Goes to the Movies. No, I would actually watch that, though. Have, Simu Liu and Awkwafina just, talk about movies as their characters. That'd be funny.
A new Disney Plus series.
Yeah, we're giving you ideas, guys. Yeah. So we're going to pick our next movie. And we actually talked about this, because you mentioned either this one or Quiet Place Part 2. Well, it's spooky season. At least the time of recording this, it's spooky season. And we wanted to at least talk about one horror movie before the season's over. So next week, we decided that we're going to be doing a two-parter. We're going to be talking about the Quiet Place movies, since the new one came out this year. And it was very good. Spoiler alert. Jacob wanted to talk about Quiet Place 2. I thought about it, and I'm like, how about we just talk about both of them? Just have a back-to-back episode where we talk about both of them. And he's like, that's cool. And so now we're there.
Yeah, it is spooky season, so it only makes sense to talk about one horror movie or two.
Yeah, exactly. And after that, I suppose we'll figure that out. But also we got new thumbnails from our boy Jacob here, or from my boy, I should say. So thank you very much for making those, because I didn't want to do everything with this. I at least wanted Jacob to have some say in here, because I don't want to feel like it's my show. He's just sitting there. So he makes the thumbnails, and they're very nice thumbnails. So thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you very much. They were very fun to make.
Oh, yeah. And I'll see you next week. Hopefully there isn't any long waits like last time, because I was actually really excited for this episode.
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm just glad we got to do it.
Oh, yeah, me too. All right, so A Quiet Place is next week, and oh boy. I'm not going to lie, my memory is a little faulty, but I'll probably, I don't know if I'll see it again, but I'll probably research it again and get some pointers. So, and then Quiet Place Part 2, my memory's a bit better with that, so that'll probably be a little easier. So, yeah, this was Brit and Jake Go to the Movies. Jacob, do you have any closing thoughts?
Thanks everyone who watched this. We had a lot of fun talking about Shang Chi. I actually had more fun talking about this than The Green Knight, because we were mostly just gushing out over the action sequences because they really are fucking phenomenal. But yeah, the movie, like story, characters, the music, everything, like it's a really well-made movie. And as I said before, it's definitely one of the better Marvel movies for sure. It's definitely worth your time. Give it the love that it needs, that it deserves.
Indeed. All right, this has been Brit and Jake Goes to the Movies. Hopefully it is not as long as last time, but hey, we talk about it for the love of the movies, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this conversation. So, yeah, we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
See you later, guys.